Clara, wait. Alexander Ward's voice cut through the evening air as he stood on the front steps of his sprawling mansion. Under the soft glow of the porch light, he watched the young housekeeper hurrying away with 2 shopping bags in her hands. Clara glanced back, her brown hair gently catching the light worry flickering in her eyes. Yes, Mr. Ward. Did I forget something? Alexander searched her face carefully, trying to read whatever might be hidden behind her polite smile. Those bags. What's in them? Clara's grip on the handles tightened, her voice gentle yet firm. Just some groceries I picked up on my way home. Would you like to check, sir? The corner of Alexander's mouth twitched, but suspicion still lingered in his gaze. You've been leaving early a lot lately, always with some excuse about family. You told me your mother is sick, didn't you? Clara's cheeks flushed and she inhaled softly. Yes, my mother needs me, but I've still managed to finish all my tasks, Mr. Ward. He stepped closer and tension filled the space between them. Do you need more money? Yesterday I overheard you on the phone. Clara straightened her back, her eyes glowing with quiet dignity. I'm not sure what you're implying, sir, but if you no longer trust me, perhaps you should find someone else. With that, she turned and walked away, her heels clicking softly on the gravel path. In the chilly night, her silhouette disappeared around the corner, leaving Alexander standing alone, thoughts swirling. He took a sip of whiskey in his quiet living room, staring out at the glowing Seattle skyline. In that silent moment, Alexander wondered, was his suspicion justified, or had his past betrayals built a cold, unyielding wall around his heart? After Clara vanished into the night, Alexander paced into his office. The chill of the book-lined walls made him restless. Pulling out his phone, he dialed David, his longtime friend and personal assistant. David, I need you to check Clara Lopez's background, Alexander said curtly. Another employee issue David teased lightly on the other end. You never seem to catch a break. This one's important, Alexander replied, voice low. I need to know where she's going after work and any financial transfers she's been making recently. David, knowing better than to ask too many questions, simply agreed. All right, I'll have something for you by morning. After the call ended, Alexander couldn't focus. He opened Clara's file on his computer, a spotless record, no criminal history, trustworthy references. But in the past few days, she had been leaving early, and he had overheard her on the phone speaking rapid Spanish, something he hadn't known about before. He thought back to the housekeepers who had stolen from him in the past, to the girlfriends who had walked away once they'd gotten what they wanted. But when he thought of Clara's steady gaze, something told him she was different. That night, sleep eluded him. Her parting words echoed in his mind. If you don't trust me, maybe you should find someone else. That sentence was as much a testament to her integrity as it was a challenge to his. The next afternoon, after David confirmed that Clara's record was completely clean, Alexander decided to see for himself. Deep down, he needed to know the truth so that the unease could finally loosen its grip. When work ended, he quietly followed her car toward the bus stop. The Seattle streets glimmered under a cool October sky, busy with commuters. He saw Clara appear as usual, hair neatly tied back, eyes focused. Bus number 47 pulled up and she boarded with her familiar shopping bags. Alexander kept his distance as he merged into traffic, following the bus slowly through town. As the streets rolled by, he wrestled with himself. Was he becoming too paranoid? But memories of past betrayals kept his hands steady on the wheel. When the bus pulled into Pioneer Square, Clara stepped off, still holding the brown paper bags close to her chest. Alexander parked across the street and watched as she approached a modest, faded building with peeling Spanish letters on the sign Centro Esperanza. His heart thudded. Esperanza, he thought, meaning hope. Was this place her secret? Or was he about to uncover a deeper deception? When Clara pushed through the glass doors, Alexander hesitated before stepping closer, shielding himself in the shadows. Through the windows, he could see a warm, bustling room filled with older men and women, gripping notebooks and pencils with hands weathered by time. Laughter and gentle greetings spilled into the street as Clara smiled warmly and made her way to the front. "Good evening, everyone," she said, voice bright with patience. "Tonight we'll practice ordering food at a restaurant." Alexander froze in astonishment. For the next hour, he watched as Clara moved gracefully among them, repeating phrases, correcting pronunciation, and encouraging every hesitant student with a kind touch or a few gentle words in Spanish. Every time someone succeeded, her face lit up. Every time someone faltered, she was there to help them try again. And Alexander's suspicion melted away. He realized then that the money she earned went into these groceries and school supplies, into the hearts and hands of people who had come to this city searching for a better life. Stepping back into the dark street, Alexander felt his breath catch. Deep down, he finally understood Clara was not just a housekeeper. She was a light in the dark, a quiet hero offering hope where none seemed to exist. And in that instant, Alexander knew he had been wrong all along. Alexander drove home in a daze, his thoughts spinning. Sitting alone in the silent house, he poured himself a drink, but left it untouched. He could still see Clara in his mind, so patient, so selfless, lighting up that community center with her warmth. And it hit him just how unfairly he had judged her. While he had spent years locking himself behind walls of wealth and suspicion, Clara had been reaching into places most would never dare go, bringing comfort to strangers. He felt a sting of shame, and at the same time a stirring of admiration. The next morning he rose early and waited for her in the kitchen. When Clara stepped inside, startled to see him there, he offered a gentle smile. "Good morning, Clara," he greeted, voice softer than usual. "Would you join me for some coffee?" Confused but curious. Clara nodded, and as they sipped coffee together in the quiet light of morning, Alexander took a breath and asked, "Could you tell me more about those classes you teach?" Clara's eyes widened with surprise, and then she smiled. In that gentle, familiar kitchen, as the rich aroma of coffee surrounded them, she began to share. And for the first time, Alexander truly listened, not as an employer, but as someone who finally saw her for who she was. Day by day, as they moved through their daily routines, Alexander found a simple joy in Clara's stories. And Clara, too, began to sense a change in him. A surprising warmth, where once there had only been distance. He never pushed too hard. He simply listened, asking questions when she paused, nodding when he understood. And in those small, quiet moments, sharing thoughts over coffee, pausing by the window as rain drummed on the glass, a seed of trust began to grow between them. One rainy afternoon, as they stood together by the large front window watching droplets trail down the glass, Alexander spoke before he could stop himself. "You're remarkable, Clara," he murmured. "You reminded me that happiness isn't measured by the size of one's house or the number of locked doors one keeps between oneself and the world. It lies in the things we dare to give." Clara looked up at him, color rising to her cheeks. In her eyes, he was no longer just the stern employer, and in his, she was more than an employee. She was someone who had quietly reopened his heart. Yet even as their understanding deepened, an unspoken barrier remained between them, the knowledge that they came from two very different worlds. And Alexander could still hear her voice from that tense night. "If you cannot trust me, perhaps you should find someone else." That one sentence had shaken him more than he cared to admit, and it had also shown him something far more profound. That evening, as they sat together over tea, and the rain whispered against the windows, Alexander finally found the courage to speak. "Clara," he began, his voice trembling just a little, "I don't want to lose you. What you do, who you are, it's changed me in ways I never thought possible." Clara paused, hands cradling her mug, and then softly she reached across the table and placed her hand over his. Her fingers were warm, and in that gentle touch was all the reassurance they both had been searching for. One crisp autumn evening, as the light of Seattle glowed purple across the skyline, Alexander and Clara walked together toward Centro Esperanza. But this time, they weren't employer and employee. They were two hearts who had found each other through suspicion, kindness, and trust. Inside, the center string lights glimmered overhead, casting a warm glow over the crowd gathered to celebrate. Familiar faces smiled as they greeted the pair, elders learning English, children giggling in a corner, friends who had become like family. Alexander took the stage hands steady at last, heart finally at peace. Not long ago, he began voice carrying across the hall. "I thought money was everything. But tonight I stand here knowing that the greatest treasure in life is found in giving, in believing in someone, in embracing what truly matters." He paused, his eyes seeking Clara in the crowd. "She showed me that compassion is what binds us. And so I want to do more than donate. I want to give my heart, my hands, my life to this cause, to this future. Together." The applause was warm and wholehearted, filling every corner of the hall. And as Clara stepped up to his side, her face radiant with pride and quiet joy, Alexander reached for her hand before all those they had come to love and serve. "Clara," he whispered so only she could hear, "let this be our beginning. Will you stand by me, not just for this work, but for the rest of our lives?" Her eyes shimmered as she nodded, her fingers tightening around his. "Yes," she breathed, voice full of promise. And in that moment, surrounded by light and love, they both knew they had crossed every barrier that once divided them.